How's it hanging, dudes? Welcome back to, and dudettes. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sean, and this is where we put humanity first, poke a little fun to mainstream media. But the thing is, Trumpy, Trump and Bloomberg's going at it, boys. Stop with the notifications, phone. Trump campaign won't allow Bloomberg reporters at events. Trump's re-election campaign says it will no longer issue press credentials to reporters working for Bloomberg News. First off, he's as much if you don't like Trump, I understand, but at the same time, he's so smart for doing that because Bloomberg News already came out, so they're not going to investigate Mike. They're not going to look into him whatsoever. They're going to do them and give him positive coverage. All right, guys, and over on the Hill, they kind of covered this too about the Trump and the Bloomberg thing, and Sagar. I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names, ain't I? He kind of just lays out how there is an utter bias from corporate media, and he does a pretty good job. We'll just go ahead and roll this clip for you guys.
All right, Sagar, what are you looking at?
Well, the consequences for corporate media are finally starting. Yesterday, President Donald Trump's campaign announced that it would not allow any reporter from Bloomberg News to cover its rallies. Their statement says, quote, Bloomberg News has declared that they won't investigate their boss or his Democrat competitors, many of whom are current holders of high office, adding that, quote, since they have declared openly their bias, the Trump campaign will no longer credential representatives of Bloomberg News at their rallies or other campaign events. The move was, of course, met with whining from the cable news syndicate, couched as another attack by the president on the so-called fake news media, with Bloomberg News editor-in-chief John Micklethwaite writing, the accusation of bias couldn't be further from the truth. We have covered Donald Trump fairly and in an unbiased way since he became a president and will continue to do so despite restrictions imposed by the Trump campaign. The New York Times editor-in-chief Dean Baquet, he even got in on the action, saying, quote, Bloomberg News is one of the largest and most influential news organizations in the world. We condemn any action that keeps quality news media from reporting fairly and accurately on the presidency and the leadership of the country. Anyone with a functioning frontal cortex should snort at the idea that a media organization which bears the name of a Democratic presidential candidate can possibly cover their potential opponent fairly. Bloomberg News let the cat out of the bag in their original statement after the New York mayor's candidacy was announced. They said, quote, they will continue their tradition of not investigating Mike. As I noted at the time, Bloomberg saying the quiet part out loud. They confirmed that when oligarchs own media companies, there are massive conflicts of interest. It showed just how hollow so much of the sanctimonious preaching from the Brian Stelter types over at CNN are when they tell us that the people at Bloomberg, the Washington Post, and the New York Times are the fairest, most objective people on earth. It should chill you to your bones that the editor-in-chief of the newspaper of record feels compelled to stand up for a news organization that has openly admitted its bias and is owned by the 9th richest man in America. Before our very eyes, we have one of the most transparent displays of the alliance between the news media and the moneyed elite in this country. And if you think that conservatives are the only one talking about this, check out this clip from a familiar figure from about 16 years ago.
In America, we have a handful of corporations like General Electric, Viacom, huge corporation owning CBS, Disney, huge corporation owning ABC, AOL Time Warner, huge corporation owning CNN, Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation owning Fox, New York Post, other media outlets all over the world. As bad as that situation is, who owns the Washington Times? Yeah, what about that guy? Does he believe in democracy? Well, you should study it. It is important to understand who owns what.
The man makes a good point. Recall that Washington Post editor-in-chief Marty Baron said that Sanders was peddling a, quote, conspiracy theory for suggesting that his negative coverage in the newspaper was in any way tied to the paper's ownership by Jeff Bezos. That is what drives us all mad. People are smart. They know that when somebody owns something, they have influence over their product. They know when a news organization literally bears somebody's name, they're going to act in their favor. That's just how business works. Don't try and tell us otherwise. If they did that from the very beginning, then maybe people would have some trust left in the media. But they're going to continue to gaslight us, and we're going to continue to shake our heads because the struggle always continues. And that is the thing, Crystal. I mean, if they had just said from the very beginning, they're like, look, we're Bloomberg News, we're owned by Mike Bloomberg, we don't investigate Mike Bloomberg, and we have an obvious bias between these corporations. I honestly would be like, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But don't come out and say, we are the fairest news organization on earth. And the New York Times is like, this is an attack on the fair media. You know what's an attack on the fair media? When these guys when these oligarchs buy media organizations or control them and then try and gaslight the American public. That is an attack on all of our brain cells.
And anybody who says people like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Bloomberg, who says they're not corrupt, like Chris Matthews was last week talking about how there's no corruption. It's just, come on, man. This is obvious. Self-interest. It's Bloomberg self-interest. It's just so obvious. You know what I mean? Come on. Let's just read. This is. I feel like I'm living in a dystopian future. You know what I mean? This is crazy. All right. So, U.S. President Donald Trump's re-election campaign said on Monday it will no longer issue press credentials to reporters working for Bloomberg News, the agency owned by Democratic presidential hopeful Michael Bloomberg. The news agency said following Bloomberg's announcement of his presidential bid that it would no longer critically cover the Democratic presidential candidates, including Bloomberg and his rivals, but would go on covering Trump. Imagine that. So is Trump wrong for doing that? No, but the media is going to spin it that way, especially because they have nobody else but Bloomberg, or they're going to be stuck with Yang, Tulsi, and Bernie. And I love that so much. As much as, Bernie is my third pick, but at the same time, I would much rather have him over some of these other people besides Yang and Tulsi. Everybody else sucks, you know what I mean? So, anyways, let's read on. Trump's re-election campaign made the announcement. It was not immediately clear whether Trump White House would change how Bloomberg reporters were treated, or how they're treated. They're biased. They're way too biased. They're openly biased, and they're trying to say that their establishment isn't biased while they're covering news, but it is. So, how is Trump wrong for that? You know what I mean? Hey, I understand you guys are gonna have a bias, so I'm not gonna let you cover me in an unbiased, in an opposite biased manner. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna let you attack me if you're gonna do nothing but report on Bloomberg and everything's gonna be daisies. You know what I mean? Like, come on. So, credentials enable reporters to more easily access rallies and other campaign events leading up to November 2020 election. Members of the public must obtain tickets from the campaign and then wait in long lines to enter events. Since they have declared their bias openly, the Trump campaign will no longer credential representatives of Bloomberg News for rallies and other campaign events, Trump's campaign manager Brad Perskill said in a statement. We will determine whether to engage the individual reporters or answer inquiries from Bloomberg News on a case-by-case basis. Unbiased. Bloomberg, the former New York City mayor and billionaire media mogul who owns the eponymous news organization, announced on November 24th that he would seek the Democratic nomination for president. Separately, he is spending $100 million of his own money on digital ads attacking Trump. In response to the Trump campaign announcement, Bloomberg News quoted editor-in-chief John Micklethwait as saying the accusation of bias couldn't be further from the truth. Look, I am no fan of Trump, but to sit there and say Bloomberg News is unbiased when they've already come out and said that they're not going to cover Michael Bloomberg in a negative manner, that's the definition of bias. He's your boss. He's oh my God, guys. What are we going to do? These boomers in freaking mainstream media. Good Lord. They are inside of a... Alright, let's just continue. I don't know if we want to get through this. We have covered Donald Trump fairly and in an unbiased way since he became a candidate in 2015 and will continue to do so despite the restrictions imposed by the Trump campaign. They're such liars, man. After Bloomberg announced his White House candidacy, Micklethwait released a memo stating that the news agency would continue our tradition of not investigating Mike and his family and foundation, and will extend the same policy to his rivals, Democratic. That's biased. That's biased. I'm gonna take it from me. I'm a very biased individual. I'm biased towards Yang. I hope he wins, and my coverage is skewed in that manner, but I don't pretend that it's not. You know what I mean? They're sitting there saying that they they are covering Trump in an unbiased manner, while at the same time saying that they will not cover the Democratic primary. They won't cover it in a negative manner, saying they won't call out people who do bad things like Pete Buttigieg. But you'll call out Trump, is what you're saying. I will do it in an unbiased manner. So when he does something wrong, we'll call Trump out. When he does something good, we'll call him out. But they're not going to give the same treatment to the Democratic nominees because Michael Bloomberg is entering on that side. Come on, man. But that's not biased, is it? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. It says, however, he said the business-focused news organization will continue to investigate the Trump administration, the government of the day. We will cover Trump, but we're not going to cover the Democratic nominees. What? With everything going on with Biden and his son, stuff like that, like... Oh, man. I don't know, guys. Oh, I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Bloomberg versus Trump. Trump's coming out hard on him. I don't know. Just for the, I can't get over the fact that these people act like they're so unbiased. Like, everybody's getting caught in the mainstream media. Everybody's getting caught. CNN's getting caught. MSNBC's getting caught. All the Wall Street Journal they were gutted from PewDiePie, from all that whole fiasco. The mainstream media is getting caught. Nobody wants to deal with their BS anymore. It's the way it is. So, I don't know. That's all I got for you guys today. Bloomberg versus Trump. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And, I'll see you guys in the next one.